Recently, it seems like there's kind of a rise in what people are calling like asymmetrical multiplayer. I think of Titanfall, but even think of the Wii U.
Well, it's weird because I mean, we kind of keep our head down, and I can't say that I've noticed it all that much.
The idea for this game was very old. We've been wanting to build it for a very long time, so it's certainly not something that we were looking at a trend and then trying to build off of that or anything.
Feels like an industry term to me. Developers use it, press use it, but I don't really
even
hear
if you go back,
players use it.
Even if you go back to Counter-Strike and bomb defusal scenario was very, one team had to go plant the bomb, one team had to stop them, and they had specific roles that weren't the same. But evolves kind of to the extreme where having that asymmetrical aspect to the game allows for there to be completely different types of players. Maybe you are a really good first-person shooter type player and you always have the best kill-death ratio in Call of Duty. I think you'll probably do really well as the monster, right? And you'll want to sort of be by yourself and not have to depend on other people.
It seems like so many multiplayer games out there now are focused on action, constantly throwing action in the player's face. And something I think your game does really well is there's plenty of downtime.
Well, yeah, you need to have those peaks and valleys, right? I mean, it's about contrast, right? You can't appreciate the action unless you have some inaction, right? I mean, it's the same, you know, just visually in the game. It's pretty hard to appreciate a dark cave if the entire level is dark, right? You want to start the player in a light area where they feel relatively safe to sort of create that feeling of, I don't know if I want to go in there.
In Left 4 Dead, it wound up being a lot higher paced all the time, but if you played co-op, it very specifically had a very roller coaster ride to it where things would slow down, things would get quiet, and then things would go like batshit crazy, right? And that system was dynamic, and that was the AI director and everybody, and that sort of became a big topic. And we're doing similar things in the game to control pacing. There's underlying systems in play, and what happens is that the game works out so that you're tracking the monster, trying to find him, he's eating, trying to eat, and you're all kind of in this slow moment, but eventually you come together, you know, and then you fight. But the game's actually designed so that the game doesn't end there. You know, he's going to get away. And the question is, how much damage did you do? Did you get the upper hand? Did he get the upper hand? Now what's going to happen next, right? And so then you separate again, and then the pace kind of slows back down again, and then you find each other again. Most games, you have 4 or 5 confrontations before the game actually ends. So it's not...
And those are pretty intense confrontations.
Yeah,
too.
so it's not sort of what you if you just heard the pitch, you might think, well, we're just going to look for it. Then when we find it, we're going to fight it. It's going to be one fight, and then the game's going to be over. It doesn't
happen, but that's not really ideal. Right?
And we have systems working under the hood to facilitate sort of the escape of one team after a confrontation.
Matt, I'm curious if there's something in the playtesting that you've noticed that separates this game from other multiplayer experiences.
Definitely, like you're playing Monster, you're on your own. He's playing against these 4 guys. It's like it's always like, for me, you get like, particularly at stage 1, you've done that nerve-wracking kind of experience where I want to try and find food, I need to hunt quickly, I can sneak, I can hide, and then like the guys are coming across, and you're going to get that moment, and maybe like you see them walk across, you're like, oh God, are they going to find me? Am I going to get away?
The tracking's a big one for me. Following tracks, following the footprints of the monster, and listening for sounds, and trying to hunt the monster down. I mean, aside from things like Big Game Hunter, you know, and that's its own genre and sort of a specific thing, but I haven't really had that experience before in sort of an action first-person shooter.
Kind of stop and listen, and you're like, it's quiet.
Yeah, I mean, most of my other multiplayer experiences are going online and getting battered. And like going, oh, I don't really want to do this again.
Why do people play this game?
Whereas I think in this one, particularly if you're playing with the mercs and you're playing co-op, you've got 3 people there to help you through and support you through as well, even if you're not at that kind of level.
But we actually found, and what's interesting in co-op is that in Left 4 Dead, we can do a lot in the game to communicate to all the other players what happens. So for example, if you walked into somebody and pushed forwards and they were blocking your view, your character would say, move, 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 automatically. And people listen to VO in the game and they play off of that very well. So in Left 4 Dead now, when you mouse over, you just happen to mouse over a boomer in the distance, your character will actually point and call it out like boomer. It seems like a subtle thing and that it's just there for icing on the cake, but it's not. It's huge, because as soon as my character calls that out, then Phil, he doesn't even realize it, but he reacts and turns to look for the boomer and tries to shoot him, right? We took the things that we said inside of the studio that we were communicating to each other, hey, there's ammo here. It's very easy for us to make the characters in the game call that same line out, and then everybody else knows there's ammo and goes over there and gets it, and so co-op just starts working.
I mean, and that's how we're getting a lot of the sort of barks and stuff for this game. Right. It's just we listen to what people say. Everyone seems to be screaming this one particular thing. You know, a lot of times it's, oh shit. But, you know, I don't know if we'll put that one in as a line or not.
But like if you harpoon the monster, your guy will call out and yell that, hey, he's harpooned, right?
Right. I got him. Yeah.
I got him. Or if
right.
or if you trank the monster. We can always communicate over mics and get more higher level detail, but the game, we always try to put as much in the game as we can to try to coordinate the team.
Have you done any weird playtesting where you don't allow any voice chat and see how much more effective the monster is at wiping out the team?
Not yet, because we're still kind of paying attention to all the things and still building the VO system. Once the VO system we have a good basis and we think, okay, this is a pretty good first pass across the board for everything, then I think that has to happen. Yeah. And we have to try it for a while, and that'll force us to realize the things that we're missing.
You'll have to hide people's headsets, I think, to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Forcefully break the game to see what's broken in the game.
It's been a good development process. I mean, it was even different in Left 4 Dead. We didn't really have sort of a very specific high-level goal, you know, and it was sort of this very, very slow, iterative process. And this game, from the beginning, we knew we wanted 4v1. We knew we wanted to fight a big monster that was played by my buddy. It's always worked, even from like month 4 in when we first started playtesting.
And you know, if the build is broken and everyone in the studio is sending angry emails about it because they can't playtest that night.
60 GIFs, right? Of
yeah, you know that
anger.
That's a pretty good indication that people like playing the game. Certainly I've been in places where developers hate playing their own game. That's never happened, at least, you know, with Turtle Rock.